Men more quickly forget the death of their father than the loss of their patrimony. Machiavelli understood the core truth of power. People are moved not by ideals, but by interests. This is the hidden art of manipulation, and it is not a dirty word. It is the recognition that life itself is a battlefield of invisible strings. To survive, you must see the strings, and to rise, you must learn to pull them. The enemy is not the strategist who plays, the enemy is blind naivete, the one who enters the arena thinking honesty alone protects them. You live in a world where manipulation is constant. Every advertisement that flashes before your eyes is designed to bend your choices. Every job interview is framed to shape perceptions. Every political speech is a crafted performance. Each word weighed for effect. To believe you are free from influence is to be the easiest pawn on the board. Your defense begins with awareness. Stop assuming purity where strategy is at work. History has always rewarded the puppeteers. Julius Caesar rose by forging alliances and breaking them when they no longer served his assent. Leaders in every era gained their thrones by pulling strings others could not see. Modern executives do the same with mergers, branding, and information control. Power has never belonged to the passive. It belongs to those who shape perception before events unfold. If you do not grasp this, you are not just uninformed, you are defenseless. Now bring this truth closer. Imagine walking into a room where every smile is a mask, every handshake a test. Some will flatter you to weaken your guard, some will joke to measure your insecurities. If you walk in assuming every face is genuine, you will be the first to bleed. But if you enter as a commander, calm, silent, and alert, you shift the balance. You observe before speaking, you choose one sentence where others ramble. You hold your throne in the room, without lifting a sword. There will be moments where disagreement rises. Do not rush to argue. Instead, steady your presence. A rival insists their plan is stronger. You do not lash back. You pause, look directly, and reply in a few measured words that reveal you see further than they do. Your stillness is the weapon. You have not only defended your ground, you have forced them to reveal their need to be heard. The first law of this art is simple. Do not fear manipulation, fear blindness. See the strings in every exchange. Know who pulls them. Decide when you will pull your own. Walk into each arena as a sovereign, not a servant. The mantra is this: observe the strings or be bound by them. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. With those words, Machiavelli was not speaking only of rulers and armies. He was naming the throne that exists within your own mind. Manipulation, persuasion, authority, none of it can exist if you cannot govern yourself first. The battlefield begins in thought. If you cannot master your impulses, your throne is already conquered, and the first invader is not an enemy outside, but the weakness inside. Self-governance is the cornerstone of every strategist. The Stoics trained themselves to separate what is in their control from what is not. They knew that the mind, left undisciplined, becomes a tyrant. Machiavelli echoed the same warning centuries later. Power belongs to the one who can shape perception, not the one tossed by emotion. Modern psychology agrees. Emotional regulation is not suppression. It is the ability to respond with command instead of reaction. If anger, fear, or envy dictate your moves, you become a pawn on someone else's board. You must claim the throne daily by ruling yourself before you attempt to rule any interaction. Perception itself is the crown. Whoever frames reality first gains authority. In a negotiation, the one who defines terms sets the battlefield. In relationships, the one who calmly establishes boundaries dictates the tone. In workplaces, the colleague who introduces ideas with clarity becomes the reference point everyone else reacts to. Modern life is a series of framing contests. The first voice shapes the lens, the second merely defends within it. If you walk into a meeting and say, "Here is the real challenge we face," you seize the throne. Others are now playing on your terrain. Imagine your mind as a fortress. The guards at the gate are your habits. The banners above the walls are your principles. The throne room is your perception of self. If the guards are weak, if the banners fall, if the throne is empty, anyone can walk in and seize it. The enemy does not need to breach the walls. Your own negligence will open the gate. Self-discipline is not asceticism. It is sovereignty. Every choice either strengthens or weakens the fortress. Disagreement reveals the strength of your throne. Picture a colleague pushing a plan you know is flawed. A weak ruler reacts defensively, spilling emotion and losing presence. A sovereign ruler remains still, speaks briefly, and refrains. Instead of "You're wrong," say, "Here is the consequence if we move that way." The first response invites battle, the second commands clarity. Weak, "That's not fair." Strong, "This is what must be done." Weak, "I feel attacked." Strong, "Let's focus on the outcome." Each swap is a sword sharpened, each word either a loss or a claim of ground. Your throne cannot be rented out to impulse. It cannot be surrendered to noise. Guard it as you would guard a kingdom. Rule perception before it rules you. Rule your emotions before they ruin you. Rule your mind before any rival sets foot inside. The mantra is this: command yourself or be commanded. It is better to be impetuous than cautious, for fortune is a woman, and it is necessary to conquer her by force. Machiavelli's words strike at the truth of mornings. Hesitation costs the field. Each dawn is the first war of the day, and the first act you take either places you in command or hands control to someone else. The battlefield begins the moment your eyes open. If you treat the morning casually, you walk into battle without armor. If you rise with order, you step forward as a general already issuing commands. History has shown that leaders understood this. Roman generals rose before their soldiers, inspecting camps at dawn to show vigilance. Statesmen crafted morning routines not for comfort, but for projection of control. Now look at the world you live in. If the first thing you do is check your phone, you surrender to manipulation before you leave your bed. Algorithms dictate the tone. News cycles plant fear. Social feeds pull you into comparison. You did not set the battlefield. You walked into one crafted for you. This is how ordinary mornings turn people into pawns. Command requires that you seize control before contact. Begin with your own ritual. Silence, breath, planning, movement, whatever strengthens your fortress before you face others. The rule is simple. Dictate your first hour or be dictated to all day. Picture the battlefield at dawn. Generals stand in silence, waiting for the signal. The one who moves first shapes the fight. In your life, that signal is the act you choose. Do you waste it scrolling through distractions, or do you rise with command? The smallest choices compound: water instead of aimless chatter, reading instead of scrolling, a plan instead of chaos. Each act is a strike. Each strike defines position. Consider the moment of disagreement that can come early. A colleague expects you to react to late-night emails first thing in the morning. If you submit, you allow them to own your battlefield. Instead, you can respond later with calm authority, reframing the exchange, not weakness but control. Weak: "Sorry, I just saw this." Strong: "I'll address this at the proper time." The first signals subordination, the second signals sovereignty. Morning is not a routine of comfort. It is a declaration of power. Rise as commander, not as captive. Set the field before others enter. Strike first, or spend the day recovering ground already lost. The mantra is this: win the morning and you win the field. Noise is weakness, silence is power. The art of manipulation is not always in words, but in the spaces between them. Stillness is a weapon, sharpened over centuries of conflict and strategy. The commander who does not rush, the negotiator who does not fill every pause, the predator who waits unseen, these are the masters of control. What feels like absence to others is in truth the most decisive presence. Psychology has proven the force of the pause. Negotiation studies consistently show that silence compels the other side to reveal more. When you resist the urge to speak, the vacuum becomes unbearable for them, and in that discomfort they surrender details, soften positions, or expose hidden motives. Words can be resisted, silence cannot. It seeps under the armor and forces the opponent to battle with themselves. This is the reason rulers, generals, and leaders often said less than their subjects wished. They understood that silence itself commands. Now think of the modern battlefield you walk in daily. Social platforms reward oversharing, constant updates, instant replies. The result is a culture where everyone leaks information, where privacy is a weakness and noise is a currency. In such an environment, the person who withholds becomes untouchable. The colleague who doesn't rush to answer in meetings is perceived as thoughtful. The leader who waits before responding to provocation appears more powerful than the one who defends instantly. In a digital age addicted to noise, silence is rare, and rarity itself is leverage. If you speak less, people lean in. If you reveal less, curiosity rises. If you hold back, authority gathers around you. Imagine the predator in the wild. The tiger does not announce its presence. It waits, unseen, patient. Its stillness is not inactivity. It is calculated readiness. The prey, distracted by noise, moves carelessly. The strike comes only when the moment is perfect. Consider the moment of disagreement. A partner in discussion insists on their point, pressing louder and louder. Weakness would meet with noise, with argument. Strength is found in stillness. You listen, remain steady, and after their energy burns out, you reply with one precise line that reframes the debate. Weak. That's not true. Strong. Here is what the outcome requires. Weak. I disagree. Strong. The evidence leads here. Stillness is not retreat. It is patience that makes the strike inevitable. Men more quickly forget the death of their father than the loss of their patrimony. Machiavelli's insight reveals the ruthless truth. Loyalty dissolves when interests are threatened, and hesitation in eliminating weakness invites collapse. To practice power, you must treat your life like a kingdom. Manipulation, persuasion, and command cannot survive if you are chained to weak links, indulgent distractions, or misplaced loyalty. A ruler does not preserve rot within the fortress walls. He cuts it away before infection spreads. History is clear on this. Machiavelli praised rulers who acted without delay when allies became dangerous. The Florentine statesman observed how leaders lost thrones not from external invasion but from betrayal by those closest to them. Roman emperors executed generals who hinted at disloyalty because one spark of rebellion could ignite an empire. Ruthlessness was not cruelty for its own sake. It was the discipline of survival. Delay gave enemies room to organize. Swiftness secured the throne. Now look at the modern battlefield you face. Weak ties drain more than they give. Toxic groups disguise their sabotage as friendship. Digital clutter steals focus with invisible chains. Every unnecessary notification is a rival tugging at your mind. If your morning begins with their noise, you have already surrendered command. Ruthless elimination in the present does not mean cruelty. It means clarity. Remove the contact who thrives on chaos. Leave the group chat that drowns you in gossip. Cut the algorithm's grip by silencing feeds designed to manipulate you. Each act of removal is a strike with the knife, separating strength from rot. Consider the moment of disagreement with someone close who drains your resolve. They push to remain in your circle, though they bring only conflict. A weak response: "I'll think about it, maybe later." A strong response: "This no longer serves where I'm going." Weak language bends under pressure. Strong language sets boundaries without apology. The difference is not volume but clarity. Boundaries enforced with quiet conviction protect the throne. The art of elimination is a discipline, not an indulgence. Cut what weakens you before it chains you. Remove distractions before they infiltrate your fortress. Purge loyalty that demands blindness instead of strength. Every stroke of the blade sharpens your sovereignty. The mantra is this: cut weakness quickly, or it will cut you. A ruler must appear merciful, faithful, humane, but only appear. Machiavelli understood that survival is theater, and power is staged as much as it is enforced. The mask you wear determines the role others assign you, and in the art of manipulation, that mask is as crucial as the sword. People believe appearances, not hidden motives, and the sovereign who understands this wins ground before the first strike is made. Machiavelli observed that rulers who seemed virtuous often held power longer than those who truly were. Why? Because reality is invisible but perception is constant. A prince could betray alliances and still be praised if he appeared loyal. A leader could tax heavily and still be loved if he appeared generous. History rewarded those who mastered disguise, who cloaked ambition under robes of virtue. The mask was not deception without purpose, it was a strategy to secure the throne. In today's world, the stage has multiplied. Politicians craft speeches, polished by teams of advisors, each word designed to project empathy while concealing calculation. Influencers broadcast curated images, carefully arranging lighting, smiles, and captions to create trust and aspiration. CEOs release statements that emphasize responsibility while negotiating ruthless contracts behind closed doors. These are not accidents, they are masks. The person who refuses to play believes they are being authentic, yet they unknowingly surrender to those who frame perception better. Power belongs to those who decide how they are seen, not those who naively insist on being seen as they are. Imagine a battlefield where armor is costume. The general who appears confident rallies soldiers, even if his heart trembles. The diplomat who smiles calmly holds leverage, even while plotting to dismantle rivals. The actor's throne is not an illusion, it is survival. You must learn this same discipline. The mask is not about lying, it is about controlling which part of yourself you reveal. You are not obligated to bleed in public, you are obligated to protect the throne. Picture a moment of disagreement. A colleague challenges your decision in front of others. If you reveal frustration, you give ground. If you lash out, you feed the perception of instability. Instead, wear the mask. Reply with calm authority. I value the concern, and here is the direction we'll take. The mask protects you, maintains command, and projects control. Weak. You don't understand what I mean. Strong. Let me frame this clearly. Weak. That's not fair. Strong. Here's what the situation requires. The words chosen and the face behind them set the tone for the entire room. Mastering the mask does not mean abandoning truth. It means choosing which truth serves your sovereignty. Every interaction is theater, and you are either directing the play or acting as an extra in someone else's script. Manipulation thrives on appearances because appearances shape loyalty, fear, and respect. Control the stage, and you control the audience. The mantra is this: wear the mask, command the role, rule the stage. Power begins with an execution. The execution is not of others, but of the naive self within you, the child that trusts blindly, that believes appearances, that assumes the world plays fair. Till that part of you is slain, you cannot command yourself and you cannot command others. The first assassination is internal. Psychology names this shadow work. Carl Jung described it as the process of integrating the darker instincts you suppress. To deny them leaves you fractured and manipulable. To acknowledge them makes you whole. When you admit that envy, anger, and ambition live in you, you stop being controlled by them. You become the sovereign of your own drives. Self-mastery is not sainthood. It is the recognition that the assassin's blade is necessary to cut away illusions. In modern life, the cost of innocence is high. Manipulation thrives on those unwilling to see human self-interest. If you believe colleagues always act for the good of the team, you become their tool. If you believe every leader is noble, you become their pawn. The world rewards strategic awareness, not blind optimism. This does not mean cynicism. It means clarity. You must accept that people act for themselves first. When you see this, you stop being shocked. You stop being used. You step forward with calm eyes that cannot be deceived. Picture the assassin's blade in hand. The strike is not physical, it is symbolic. It is the cutting down of the self that waits for fairness instead of creating it. Imagine standing in your own throne room facing that younger, weaker figure who flinches, who avoids conflict, who surrenders for approval. You walk forward, steady, and end its reign. In that silence, a new ruler rises. Not a tyrant, but a sovereign who sees human nature clearly and governs without illusion. There will be moments where this inner kill is tested. A friend asks you for a favor, they never return. The naive self wants to please. The assassin within says, I value respect, not exploitation. A weak response. It's fine, don't worry about it. A strong response. This pattern doesn't work for me. Weak. I guess I'll manage. Strong. Here's my limit. Language is the blade. Each strong sentence eliminates the weakness that would have chained you. This process is not cruel. It is rebirth. By ending the reign of the gullible self, you make space for the strategist. By accepting your shadow, you claim wholeness. By refusing blind trust, you protect your throne. The inner assassin is not a villain. It is the guardian of your sovereignty. Without it, you are a pawn waiting to be sacrificed. With it, you are the ruler, untouchable, because you no longer betray yourself. The mantra is this: kill the naive self, and the ruler will rise. Desire is the leash that guides men. Hunger, status, belonging, these are the forces that drive behavior more than logic or reason. To understand manipulation, you must understand that people are wolves. They move according to appetite, not philosophy. If you want to command the pack, you must master the art of feeding and starving those hungry. The wolf you control is not conquered by chains, but by the hand that decides when it eats. Human needs have always been the roots of power. Maslow described them as layers: survival, safety, connection, esteem, and self-actualization. Those who control access to these resources control the people who seek them. The ruler who controls food commands loyalty. The employer who controls income directs labor. The leader who controls recognition shapes morale. This is not theory, it is history. Societies rise and collapse around the management of hunger. When bread is scarce, riots begin. When security is absent, trust dissolves. When honor is denied, men rebel. Manipulation works because humans never need to sleep. Modern systems have weaponized this truth. Apps exploit hunger for attention. by feeding it in tiny doses. Markets thrive on the endless craving for more status, more possessions, more validation. Propaganda exploits the need to belong, promising identity in exchange for obedience. Every ping on your phone is meat dangled before you, keeping you moving on someone else's schedule. When you understand this, you see how much of your life is guided, not by will, but by carefully fed desire. To reclaim sovereignty, you must learn to break that leash. Do not let your hunger be farmed by systems designed to profit from it. Control your craving, or someone else will. Now imagine the wolf in the dark. Its ribs are sharp from hunger. Its eyes burn with need. In your hand is the meat. You decide when it eats, how much, and under what condition. The wolf will follow, not because it loves you, but because it fears starvation. This image is the essence of leverage. In human terms, the wolf is desire. Hold what others crave, and you hold their loyalty. Withhold it, and you test their strength. Feed it sparingly, and you keep them moving in your chosen direction. In daily life, this principle appears everywhere. A manager controls opportunities for advancement. A teacher controls recognition. A partner controls affection. When disputes arise, feeding or starving desire shifts the outcome. Picture a colleague pressing for immediate attention to their project. The naive response, "Fine, I'll handle it now." The sovereign response, "I'll address this once priorities are clear." Weak, "I'll drop everything." Strong, "This will be handled at the right time." The second reframes hunger on your terms. The lesson is not to exploit cruelty, but to recognize that it needs rule behavior. If you can identify what drives someone, you hold the key to influence. If you can discipline your own hunger, you remove the leash others use against you. Manipulation is not chains, it is meat in the hand of the strategist. The mantra is this: control desire and you command the pack. Life is a chessboard, and every move you make declares strategy, whether you intend it or not. Manipulation is not chaos. It is calculation, as deliberate as the positioning of pawns and rooks. Those who drift without plan are pieces waiting to be sacrificed. Those who understand placement, timing, and sacrifice rise as players, not pawns. History shows that power has always belonged to strategists who treated politics and war like a game of moves. Napoleon was famed for anticipating his opponent's actions 2 or 3 steps ahead, sacrificing positions on the battlefield only to collapse armies later with decisive strikes. Otto von Bismarck maneuvered through alliances, presenting himself as a friend to many while ensuring Prussia always emerged stronger. Machiavelli himself explained that rulers must appear one way and act another, not from impulse but from design. None of these men relied on chance, they relied on calculation and the discipline to trade small losses for decisive victories. In your life, the chessboard appears in smaller but no less important arenas. Office politics is not a free exchange of ideas, it is a series of moves where perception shapes authority. Negotiations are not casual conversations, they are matches where framing the board determines outcome. Even in dating, the one who sets the rhythm and pace of interaction dictates the terms of the game. Every relationship, professional or personal, becomes a series of pieces moved across squares. If you act without awareness, you will find yourself cornered by someone who has been planning 3 steps ahead. The principle of sacrifice separates the strategist from the amateur. The pawns surrendered today might be the key to checkmate tomorrow. You may accept temporary discomfort, delayed gratification, or even small defeat if it positions you for greater control later. Imagine the battlefield. You give ground deliberately, allowing the rival to advance. They believe they are winning, but the trap has been set and their king is already doomed. This is not fantasy, it is the exact discipline leaders, negotiators and commanders have used throughout history. Picture a dispute with a colleague who insists on having their idea chosen. The naive response is to fight for dominance immediately. The strategic response is to yield the small ground. You allow their plan to proceed, but you prepare for the failure you already anticipate. When it collapses, you arrive with a stronger solution ready, positioning yourself as both problem solver and authority. Weak, no, my way is better. Strong, let's try your approach and review the results. The first sparks open conflict. The second sets a trap of perception where you cannot lose. The art of manipulation is not about noise or aggression. It is about treating every exchange as part of a longer game. Do not fight for every square. Fight for the right ones. Do not cling to pawns if the sacrifice opens the path to the throne. Calculate the board. Anticipate moves. Accept short-term loss if it guarantees long-term sovereignty. The mantra is this: play the game or be played. It is better to be impetuous than cautious, for fortune is a woman, and it is necessary to conquer her by force. Machiavelli's words speak to willpower, but willpower alone is not enough. Without ritual, even the strongest intention collapses. Power is not preserved through bursts of energy, it is preserved through discipline hardened into habit. The throne is not defended by passion, but by structure. The general who drills his soldiers daily survives longer than the one who waits for inspiration. The ruler who keeps routine outlasts the rival who trusts only talent. History reveals that kings, emperors, and commanders endured not through genius, but through relentless rituals. Roman legions were not feared because of size alone, but because they practiced the same formations until they became unbreakable. Leaders who rose to power often did so not by brilliance, but by repeating systems that ensured steadiness. Machiavelli observed that fortune favored the ruler who prepared consistently, not the one who gambled on chaos. Discipline became the invisible armor that preserved authority against time and betrayal. Modern life mirrors this truth. Consistency outlasts talent in every field. In business, the entrepreneur who shows up daily with structure surpasses the genius who only works when inspired. In fitness, the one who trains steadily builds a body the sporadic cannot match. In influence, the voice that delivers regularly is trusted more than the one that speaks in occasional bursts. Discipline is the currency of power. Without it, manipulation disintegrates into noise. With it, every move gains credibility, and your presence becomes difficult to shake. Picture your will as steel in the forge. Each strike of the hammer shapes it. Each repetition hardens it. Miss one strike, and the blade cracks. That is the reality of ritual. You cannot demand respect while living without order. You cannot hope to influence while ruled by impulse. A sovereign without discipline is a fortress with open gates. The enemy does not need to storm it. Time itself will erode it. Your rituals must be as unshakable as the walls of your throne room. Consider a moment of disagreement with someone who questions your commitment. They challenge your schedule, implying you are too rigid. Weakness would defend by apologizing, "Maybe you're right, I should relax." Strength replies with calm certainty, "My structure protects what I build." Weak, "I'll try to fit it in." Strong, "This is already fixed in my schedule." Weak, "I'll see if I can manage." Strong, "This is non-negotiable." Discipline is not inflexibility, it is the armor that protects sovereignty from erosion. The iron will ritual is not glamorous. It is the repeated hammering that no one sees, the quiet order that shapes the blade before battle. Each habit enforced is a soldier at the gate. Each routine executed is a wall repaired. Without it, influence scatters like dust. With it, your authority becomes iron. Talent fades, passion burns out, but ritual endures. The mantra is this: forge discipline daily, or the blade will break. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Machiavelli's lesson was not about cruelty, but about aura, the invisible force that bends people before a word is spoken. The highest state of manipulation is when you no longer need to manipulate, your presence itself commands. The apex predator does not chase, it moves, and the rest of the world adjusts. History shows us figures who embodied this untouchable state. Alexander inspired armies to march across continents because his aura promised destiny. Napoleon's soldiers followed him into hopeless battles, not for pay, but because his presence ignited loyalty and fear at once. Even in defeat, his shadow shaped Europe. These leaders did not persuade with constant noise. Their power lived in silence, in posture, in the sense that they were inevitable. When aura becomes a throne, influence ceases to require effort. In modern life, the same dynamic exists. The untouchable figure is not always a general. It may be a CEO who frames every discussion without raising their voice. It may be a public figure whose body language alone silences critics. It may be the colleague who never scrambles, never begs, and therefore never gets used. They radiate mastery because they no longer trade attention for approval. The frame is always theirs, and others conform to it. The modern predator does not need to claw. Its calm is enough to bend the room. Picture the predator's crown. You walk into a room, and without speaking, silence forms. People adjust their tone. Eyes track you first. The crown is not jeweled, it is built from reputation, discipline, and presence. This is the moment where manipulation ends. Because you have risen beyond tactics, you are the board on which the game is played. The strategy is no longer in persuading, it is existing as the immovable force others must calculate around. Consider a moment of challenge. Someone questions your decision in front of others, attempting to weaken your command. The ordinary response is defensive. The untouchable response is stillness. You look directly, pause, and deliver one calm line. This is the course, and it will stand. Weak. I need you to understand why I'm right. Strong. This is the direction. Weak. Please trust me on this. Strong. Trust is optional. The decision is fixed. The predator state removes the need for pleading. Your aura ends the debate. To reach this level requires years of ritual, elimination of weakness, mastery of silence, and control of desire. Each previous battle sharpens you until presence itself becomes a weapon. At that point, manipulation is no longer a tool you use. It becomes unnecessary because reality bends around the force you radiate. The throne is yours, not because you grab it daily, but because no one dares approach without bowing. The mantra is this: become the presence others cannot move. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Machiavelli's most famous line is not about cruelty, but about clarity. Love fades, fear endures. What he was truly pointing toward is this: history belongs to those who master perception, not those who trust luck. The rise and fall of rulers, nations, and empires has always hinged less on brute force and more on manipulation. Armies march, but they march because someone has convinced them to. Thrones endure, but only because leaders bend loyalty, fear, and hope into a weapon sharper than steel. Look at the battlefield of history. Rome expanded not only through legions, but through alliances and narratives that made subjects believe submission was inevitable. Napoleon held Europe, not by gunpowder alone, but by the sheer magnetism of his aura. Bismarck stitched Germany together through manipulation of treaties and rivalries, outmaneuvering enemies who underestimated him. Again and again, Empires collapsed not because they lacked weapons, but because they failed to control stories, alliances, and appearances. Nations crumble when their rulers lose the ability to frame reality. The lesson is brutal. Manipulation is not an accessory to power. It is its skeleton. Now, look at the present war. You wake each day inside a battlefield of influence. Algorithms dictate attention, deciding which voices rise and which vanish. Politics thrives on framing, turning complex issues into slogans that guide entire populations. Culture wars rage, not with swords, but with narratives repeated until they become unquestioned truth. If you believe you are immune, you are already a pawn. Every feed you scroll, every product you buy, every cause you rally behind is a square on this global chessboard. To survive as more than a piece, you must see the game being played. Awareness is not paranoia, it is armor. And then comes the throne within. The most important battlefield is not Rome, not Europe, not the digital sphere, it is your own mind. Imagine yourself as the puppet master, strings in both hands. One hand pulls discipline, the other patience. One string directs silence, another directs presence. If you do not sit on this inner throne, someone else does. You become the puppet, strings pulled by employers, by marketing, by fear, by distraction. The sovereignty you crave begins with seizing those strings and refusing to let go. All the earlier lessons converge here. The throne of mind taught you self-rule. The battlefield of mornings showed you that control begins at dawn. Silence became your weapon, the mask your armor, the inner assassin your rebirth. Feeding the wolf revealed how hunger drives men. The chessboard showed you calculation. The iron ritual forged your blade, and untouchability crowned you. Each was a step. Each was a test. The convergence is this. Either you weave them into mastery, or you scatter them into fragments and remain a pawn. Consider the choice in a moment of confrontation. A rival challenges you, framing you as reactive. Weak. I'll try harder next time. Strong. The standard is already set. Weak. I hope you trust me. Strong. Trust will follow results. In that instant, you either play your move or allow theirs to define the board. The game is not neutral. You are always either manipulating or being manipulated. Sovereignty exists only in one direction. This is where the predator's crown rests. Picture walking into a room and bending it without speaking. That presence is not an accident, it is the sum of daily battles, choices, and eliminations. The aura others feel is not mystical, it is the weight of consistency, the silence of self-command, the iron discipline of ritual. You have become the master of strings. Others sense it because their own strings are tugged by you without effort. The climax is a choice. Remain a pawn in games you do not see, or rise as the strategist who bends the board. Continue trusting blind luck, or claim the throne of awareness, ritual, and command. Power will not beg you to take it. Influence will not offer itself freely. Manipulation is neither evil nor holy. It is the natural battlefield you are already standing on. To deny it is to surrender without knowing the fight has begun. To master it is to step onto the throne of your own life with eyes wide open. The lesson is not to abuse others, but to rule yourself and refuse to be ruled blindly. Every move you make is either a defense of sovereignty or an offering of it to someone else. Daily vigilance is your shield. The world is filled with invisible strings, advertisements tugging at your desire, colleagues framing your reputation, leaders shaping your perception. If you drift through each day without awareness, you are already being played. Guard your focus like a fortress. Do not surrender your morning to the noise of feeds designed to control you. Do not yield your decisions to voices that profit from your weakness. Watch how others attempt to bend reality and sharpen your own ability to frame it first. The throne belongs to those who notice. The cost of complacency is collapse. Imagine your kingdom in perfect order, walls strong, soldiers steady. Then one gate is left unguarded. For a single night, an invader slips in. The throne topples, not through conquest, but through blindness. Life works the same way. One moment of letting your guard down, one careless trust, one assumption that others always act in good faith, and the ground beneath you is lost. Complacency is the silent assassin. Vigilance is the crown's defense. Picture a disagreement with someone trying to steer you. A weak response, maybe you're right, I'll go along. A strong response, I hear your view, but here is the direction I stand by. Weak language yields the stage. Strong language claims it. The difference is not aggression, it is sovereignty. You can acknowledge without surrendering, listen without obeying, respect without kneeling. Every response is a test of whether you rule or are ruled. This is your command. Rule without apology. Stop fearing the judgment of those who prefer you malleable. Stop apologizing for setting boundaries. Stop disguising strength as softness to gain approval. You do not need permission to command yourself. Authority begins in silence, extends through presence, and ends in mastery. You will either walk as a pawn or as sovereign. You will either bend to the strings others pull, or you will command the stage where they perform. The choice is not distant. It is daily in every word you speak, every frame you set, every moment you guard or waste. The throne is not given. It is seized by those vigilant enough to claim it. The mantra is this: observe the strings, command the stage, rule without apology.